What? I think it was really fluid, very organic, the way that it happened. There was no, okay, let's start up a design company. It was just, we were three individuals working together in a studio, all of us as individuals doing our own different things, freelancers in our own little worlds. We wanted to collaborate more together, so we set up a website called, I think it was Haberdashery Studios at the time or something. And it wasn't just the three of us, it was about 8 people. Through that, the idea was to try and go to our existing clients that we all had and offer more. What actually happened is that we then moved premises, not enough out of the 8 people were concentrating, or not, out of the 8 people, not enough people wanted to really turn this into something more. So me, Dan and Ben were the only 3, but at that point we were still freelancers in our own world. And then I think we got 1 gig for Selfridges through a contact of mine, which is our first proper gig. And then to make that happen, we actually had to set up a bank account. So it's literally, it forced us to set up a bank account. Set up a bank account, put 50 quid in it. Selfridges gave us 20 grand, and we went off and did these 4 pieces. And it was like, great, okay, well, this works, we work well together, this is nice. So we then went and did the next job. So for about a year, we were just a partnership, just collaborating. But then we took it a bit more seriously and turned it into a limited liability partnership, and now a limited company. And now it's very different, you know, where we are a proper, fully fledged limited company. So there was never an intent to do this, it just happened organically. And I would sort of suggest that to anyone who wants to get into the design world. It's good to have a focus, but also observe what's going on around you and just go with the flow a little bit and try and make the best out of all opportunities.
We don't really, there's 3 directors at Hab, 3 founding partners, directors, not partners, 3 founding directors, and we don't really explicitly separate our roles, probably out of childishness. We don't do it. We try and keep a very flat hierarchy. So an intern could be leading a project one day, a small project, a manageable project. A junior designer might be acting as a project manager or even a senior designer on a job. Or say there's a big install, we all become runners and we all pitch in and get things done. Part of that's that we're a small company and you have to be flexible. Part of that is that I really believe that it's very important that everyone understand everyone else's job role and that everyone know that, oh yes, the senior designers look after this and they get experience looking after those things. So they can ease the transition, and it's a bit that way with the directors too.
Personally, I tend to look after, I'd say, more the some of the finance stuff. So I tend to do a lot of sort of financial projections, overviews. I tend to project manage a lot of projects. So like I said, at the moment we've got 20 projects. I'd probably be looking at overseeing maybe 10 to 15 or whatever. Just also I do a lot of, I guess you call new business, or not necessarily new business, but it's just keeping up relationships with clients and stuff. So yeah, main roles and responsibilities for me. I do design. I design a lot. I get people to visualise for me. So I come up with a lot of concepts, a lot of client management, some new business, some finance, and project management. So yeah.
My role definitely has kind of, it borders between being able to design, being able to make, being able to assemble, being able to install. So I cross quite a lot of the borders.
I have very strong views on being personable. So I think our studio, or maybe something that I instill in the business, is the idea of friendship. So I think it's one of the most important things. I think that everyone can get on with each other, that everyone should be kind to each other, that everyone should respect what everyone else is doing, in a sense. And no matter how tough things can get and whatever, just to be mindful and appreciate other people's situations and stuff. I think that's really important, because at the end of the day, we're not 14 individual designers designing for ourselves, 14 individual designers designing together for one common cause, in a sense. So we're very much a team. So team is one of the biggest things. I also I like to instill still on the sort of on the people front the idea that we do things together. So on a Friday we always go to the pub after work. It's a nice way to end the day, have it actually buys everyone drinks and get some food and stuff, and we just it normally ends up being quite a fun evening. So I think stuff like that's really important, make people feel like they're part of something. I think a lot of the other thing I quite like doing, which is in delegation, delegate, and also make people accountable for things that they're doing. Make people feel like they own something. So you know, if you're a designer, I'll go to you and say, okay, this is your project. You're looking after it. You need to tell me or us or the business or anyone else what you want this thing to be, and you just have to manage it and control it. Because I think what that does is it gives people. It's hard to start with, but it gives people a sense of confidence after a while. And I think it's the best way to nurture a designer and take a designer to,
I think they tend to get different projects. The thing is, I'm not doing the same thing as what they are doing, so it's slightly different because everything I'm doing is kind of new for them. So yeah, I think it changed really because we're getting more projects from my fields. I think it get really not bigger, but not different as well. They still have the same ethics in terms of kind of client or what kind of job they want to get. It's just it's getting more busy, I think, in terms of...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite holistic. I mean, back to that thing, I think the way they work and the people who they enjoy working with, it's very much a team ethic. I mean, the directors get involved from stage one all the way through to potentially even installation. And same with senior designers, you know, the senior designer will design, spec and subcontract and then be involved in the kind of sub-assembly stage and then on-site with installation. So it's very kind of unusual in that way that it's a holistic approach. So that's, from my point of view, that's really, really interesting, and you've got direct contact with.
Public, I would say, not a lot of public know what we do. Realistically, we're not an agency, a design agency or company who is very public facing. Not that we don't want to be, it's just we, as I said, we do a lot of one-off high-end bespoke products for private clients. I think the client's perception of what we do is that we're very skilled. We are, I'd say, they probably think, and I would agree, that we're kind of on the cutting edge of design and understanding of technologies. That's a hard question, actually. What do people think about us? It's a very good question. I don't know. A lot of people look at our work and think that there's a cool element, that the stuff that we do is cool because it is so diverse, because it isn't just one thing, you know, from big 50-ton sculptures to, you know, smaller walls for BFI, to, you know, hanging sculptures in the top of the Shard, to, you know, One Hyde Park, to works in Monaco and New York and stuff. There's something very cool about the work that we do, but it isn't cool-led design. And I think people understand that, it's engineering and concept and narrative-led design, which ends up having a really cool final finished element.
I think it's, I always like, especially again like science, so if it's conveying that there's something really interesting there and you can learn more, you know, then that's kind of what I really like. In the simplest terms, that can be like cantilevers that look impossible, don't actually work, and if someone who's like a kid looking at it and go, well, how does that even stand up? And that's quite inspiring, and it has a sort of mystical air to it. So if you do something that people don't know quite how it works, then then I really, really like that. So I go to a lot of exhibitions, and a lot of time I try and I understand how most of them work. If there's something I don't understand how something works, then that's really interesting for me, because someone's done something really interesting, or it's a technology I don't know about, which is cool.
Yeah, the Hab Lab is it's like an internal project, always ongoing project we have, where anyone in the office is encouraged to explore their own personal projects, things that don't have a client. things that don't necessarily have a guaranteed outcome or even a known outcome. We do ask that it has a goal, that you're not just, spending time watching Facebook or something. But Haberdashery will pay for its development up to a point. If you're looking for 200 grand, we can't do that. If you're looking for 200 pounds, we can do that. So we will, we ask people to just submit a quick A4 sheet about what they want to do, what their schedule approximately is for it, how much money they think they may need, or if at all, and how they'll know if they've succeeded or failed for each stage of development. And then just go for it. And we ask that everyone just manage their time on their other projects appropriately so that they have time to do that. We don't carve out time for you. We ask that you do this because you want to do it, and that you have the ability to look after your other projects appropriately to begin with. So we do work hard to not overbook anyone so that they don't stand a chance, but we ask that people really make the time for themselves. And that's part of the challenge of it in a way. Part of the challenge is it's a managerial thing, because as you know, any project you have will fill up the time that's available if you let it. But in this case, we're saying you can't let it if you want to do this. You have to get your job done appropriately within the right amount of time, rather than just letting it go on endlessly, so that you have the time to explore these things that you're passionate about, and we'll support those explorations. So that's like one of the undertones of the Hab Lab. The other side is really to bring in a bit about what I found so inspiring at Bell Sports, was that people lived what they were doing. And you don't want to have designers who aren't passionate about their design work, about exploring and about learning about materials and processes and whatever. You want to have designers who don't clock in at 9 and clock out at 6. You want to have designers that want to go to making events in the evening, or want to go to hack spaces, or want to learn about whatever. And so this is just encouraging it. We'll buy the books to help you learn. We will pay for the PCBs you need. We will pay for the whatever you need to help explore this project. But just do it. It's important that you do it. It's important that you stay hungry for this kind of thing. And this is a way to ask people to kind of to inspire them to do that from within, rather than us decreeing, you must do this project that we're handing to you. We want people to want to do projects that they come up with themselves.
It's great. It's something that unfortunately is time dependent. So when we're really busy, it kind of gets put on hold. But we always have a range of, we have an exhibition coming up, which is full of our own work, which is derived from experiments, and they're all light-based things. So it is fun when you have spare time, when you have a day a week or so, or even half a day, or even an hour or 20 minutes, just to sit down and have a think about something else that's not directly client-driven.